Hi, guys, and welcome to Made Visible with Ankur. In today's episode, we're going to check out the second UFO drop reaction, and I'm going to share some of mine. We're going to check out some unseen leaked footage of the MH370 flight that disappeared over the Pacific. And we're going to discuss about a novel that explains 20 missing scientists that you've heard of recently. Could just be one novel. And for now, let's check this out first.
Real world. So during the height of the drone incursions on the East Coast, there is a sensitive, critical infrastructure facility that has to do with energy. And I got word that there was lifting out of the water in a bay with cameras near this facility that were so high definition that it's like perfect footage because you need security at this facility. And a pyramid comes up, pyramid by triangular by angle of observation, pyramid in shape. Okay.
Like a tetrahedron,
It lifts up,
three-sided pyramid.
lifts up out of the water, rotates. I think that's 90 degrees, goes over this base and hovers for maybe 10 hours,
Whoa.
goes back, goes into the water. And there's what's called the Honeywell system, okay, at this that is used by Department of Energy. And in the Honeywell system sits this file, and it's like burning a hole in the brain.
All right, that's crazy. Hey, guys and girls, welcome back. Now, we all know that there was a massive dump by the US government of whatever bad footage they had, and we were lucky or unlucky enough to get it. But someone who is close to this whole thing, who made a film called Age of Disclosure, feels that this was nothing. And that's the clip we're going to watch now.
And then you kind of just see it implode. What do you make of this?
Yeah, look, it's more of the same. I think what we're seeing now is the evidence that the government can safely declassify and share with the public. But it's important to remember this barely scratches the surface. There is a lot of evidence that still exists within various federal agencies, various private defense.
This barely scratches the surface. So, the only one of the 5 or 6 governments in the world that is talking about this. I mean, it's no surprise that they are being really curt and careful with what they release. But does it have to be this way? Don't we all deserve to know? All of these whistleblowers who have released a lot of footage, sometimes with the danger to their own life, don't think so. They feel that everyone should know this truth. And sooner or later, what I'm hearing from whatever I know, this is going to come out. And it's either going to come out through the US government and all of these other governments, or it's going to come out through some whistleblower who isn't afraid to die, or probably who is already at his deathbed and couldn't care less if he died. In fact, the US government is currently preparing people for just this. They've been briefed, actually. All of these religious leaders have been briefed on what they need to do, how they need to handle it when their so faithful pilgrims come. All said and done, this could just be a whole lot of hogwash, like how George Knapp put it, because he's seen this entire subject from the 70s and he has seen how close the government brings us. and then kicks us back again. So this could just go anywhere, but he feels that we are already at a point of no return and that it is going to come. Why such crap footage? I understand that these are unexplained cases and very senior and serious people that the Pentagon and the government hires to go through this kind of evidence are still they themselves don't have any idea as to what they are. But I'm sure that they have better footage. And just like he said it, he's the director of Age of Disclosure, which is a very, very boring but very important movie in this whole subject, which released last year, I think. So he feels this is barely scratching the surface, and he is close with so many intelligence and very, very senior up people in the military who know and who have actual evidence. They might even have parts of a UFO craft. They might have photos that maybe you and I would see many, many years later, and he would have seen them already. And he feels that we're barely scratching the surface. All right, on to our second discussion for today. You obviously would have, everybody has heard of this airplane called the MH370, Malaysian Airlines MH370, and how it went off, like it turned off its transponder, took a U turn from its flight path, was in the air for 10 hours straight, going towards a totally different direction, and then at some point it disappears from radar. And usually, when that happens, this search that happens after brings out results, brings out debris, brings out bodies, brings out something. But in this case, they've been through 12 years. There are people who ended their search on the 10th year of this particular tragedy, 10th anniversary of this particular tragedy, and they had nothing to report for 10 years. There is no trace of MH370. And it's possible that this is why, because there is a video that has surfaced in recent times. This was a leaked video that was not meant to be seen by anybody. Leaked US military video. Of course, the US military video. Who else probably has operations in cameras running on the Pacific or anywhere else in the world? And so let's have a look at this video, and I think it'll explain a lot. Okay, so let's watch this carefully. Forget the footage that you see on the left side. Just focus on the footage on the right side, which is the actual plane, which is a camera feed of the plane. Look at it. Can you see something circling the plane? Yes. Can you see something circling the plane? And now two, and now three. And look how fast the third one and the second one just whooped in. Now here's the thing. This video has not been debunked. This is the MH370. Poof. You want to see that again? It just disappears. These three orbs triangulate its location, start spinning around it, and poof, it's gone. How someone could have gotten hold of this was the point of a lot of speculation, but has not been debunked, like I said earlier. It seems that there was a US military platform, a server that was getting upgraded, and these files were not meant to be seen by anybody. And during the upgrade, this kind of got left out, and someone actually opened it and saw what was happening. And this could very well be MH370. This kind of triangulation is very common. These orbs are like devices that circulate the earth. I don't know if I've spoken about this in an earlier episode, but they circulate, like they just go around the world in the sky, completely invisible most of the time. And whenever there's a spacecraft above, out in space, that wants to take information about a certain area or wants to land at a certain area, these orbs kind of combine, like the three closest orbs come together into a triangular form or into rows, like we saw in the leak, but always in threes. And then this whole wormhole kind of thing that we saw is the craziest part, guys, because I never really thought that they could do that. But this is almost like opening a portal, and poof, it's like they stopped it in time, right? So that's when light stops. If you stop something in time, and time is moving always, stopping something in time means a flash of light and it disappears because time has continued to move, but the light is no longer coming from it because it stopped earlier. It's very confusing explanation, I understand, but this is what is one theory. Now, going to the next thing and the main topic for today, for our third episode, is the three body problem. What is the three body problem? So, it's a physics problem that was theorized by some really smart guy, that when two bodies are like in each other's gravitational pull, their trajectory can be easily calculated, can be predicted. But the moment you add a third body onto it, and all three of them are kind of interacting with each other's gravity, it is impossible, or at least current science is not able to, no current model is able to predict that, how these bodies would react once they are in each other's gravitational pull. I will be definitely watching with you some simpler videos about this, but the point is that there is a book that is written about this by a Chinese writer who used to work in a power plant, of course, in China. And it's a fascinating bit of work. When I read it, I couldn't keep the book down. And I didn't get sleep thinking about what if what this guy has written is real. What if it is like this and that we are heading that way? All right, enough of a build up. I'll go piece by piece till we fully understand about this novel, and I will give you the resources and the links in the description below so that you can check it out when you have the time. So the first thing we will see will be, okay, we'll look at Neil deGrasse Tyson, who recently came out and admitted that he was probably wrong about aliens and that aliens have been visiting Earth. And he's going to take some time to get there, much to the irritation of the rest of the UFO community. But till that time, at least let's see him talk science in a way where we understand what the three body problem actually is.
But if you take a third sun and put it there,
Let's go back a little.
right, of course. So those two suns and the planet is stable, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But if you take a third sun and put it there, about approximately the same size, then what kind of orbits will they have? Give me two fists here, okay? So I'm feeling this one, but now I feel that where's my gravitational allegiance?
Right, you don't know where to go.
Am I going to come through?
Right.
But then am I going to go that way or this way? So I'm coming into the system. And do I go to you in orbit? But wait, you're still coming around here?
Right.
Now I feel this. And so it turns out the orbits of a three-body problem are mathematically chaotic.
Yes. I was about to say, that did not seem very stable.
Something has to give.
Right. So this is the three body problem. So two bodies, and if you add a third one, there is no way to mathematically predict what it will do. Now, coming to the second part of it, which is the missing scientists. If you didn't know, or if you don't follow too much of American news, you might have missed that many scientists, not just from America, but even from China, more than 10 in each country, have disappeared or killed themselves or been found dead in mysterious circumstances in just the last 2 years. You would also be right if you assumed that maybe a foreign adversary wanted to stall this country or the superpowers' growth and progress, and they killed. Many times, such scientists across the world who do great things for their countries' weapons programs and nuclear programs of their country disappear or are killed in mysterious circumstances. And this is just the cost of these technologies, or this is the cost of intelligence that can result in breakthroughs in these technologies. So you could just look at it that way, right? Or a YouTuber, famous YouTuber, I think Jake Paul, was with Obama, and in the middle of nowhere, right, with no network, no self service, they were sitting across a campfire, and Jake Paul asked, or whoever that was, asked President Obama, look, you've been in the top of the echelon, right? You know, and you've met all the people there are to know and to meet. So tell me, what is the secret of it all? That's what he asked Obama. And Obama responded by just saying, read the three body problem. Now, he didn't mean the theory. He meant this novel that was written by this Chinese gentleman, Chinese author, which has completely blown away not just my mind, but it's become like compulsory reading for very, very higher up senior officials in governments across the world. If we were to go a little deeper into the missing scientists, first you need to understand the profile of these people.
Security efforts, and they all just mysteriously disappeared.
Tough questions in Washington, D.C. after at least 10 American scientists.
So these are the 10 from America. I really, you just believe me when I say there are 10 more. Maybe you can Google their names from China. A lot of jet propulsion related scientists, an MIT professor, a nuclear weapons facility contractor, and General Neil McCaslin, who's one of the most well known figures in ufology inside of the government. He has something called as the To the Stars Academy. And this was started along with General Neil McCaslin. And we're slowly getting to that three body problem book. But I think that these are building blocks that if you knew, it would all tie in together as we go along. So we're watching this together, and we're going to check out now a theory that connects the missing scientists to aliens. Scary.
Next big war. The real crown jewels aren't the weapons or the hard drives, but the minds, the judgment, the intuition, and the years of trial and error that most people never see. You can steal documents or hack a server, but if you really want to shortcut the future, you steal the person who already solved the problem. We like to imagine the black world as restricted hangars and test sites, but the most valuable assets in the world still get up in the morning and drive to work.
Right. So the nature of secret programs is that there is some senior scientist who has the entire thing in their mind, the entire image. Let's say anti gravity. The chief scientist would know everything, start to end. Then, under the guidance of the military, this scientist would have a bunch of senior but not as senior as them, maybe slightly smarter scientists under them who will know only pieces of the whole puzzle, such that they wouldn't even know each other sometimes. There are stories of couples working in the jet propulsion laboratory. The spouses wouldn't know what the other spouse is doing in that facility. Sometimes they find out after they die, sometimes they never find out. This is the nature of secrecy they maintain when they work here, and most of the time they end up marrying within the same base, because the life is such that if you were to just live there and have no working hours in particular and have nothing to tell about your work, your wife or your husband would definitely think you're cheating on them. So they would be within those circles themselves. What he was coming to say is that these resources, right, like this chief scientist, let's say that he knows or she knows everything about anti-gravity that they need to achieve on a practical level in their lab. All of this being so compartmentalized, it's very hard to recreate it the moment I kill that scientist, or if that scientist no longer there in that equation. Those nine compartmentalized senior scientists can't even connect the dots sometimes. That's how the nature of research is, secret research. And this is what he's coming to, that you just pick up the guy, you just make them disappear, and that's it. You have already cut the future short. She disappeared while trekking, and the way she disappeared is unreal, where she was trekking with a friend who was 30 meters ahead of her. When they turned back and saw her, she was there. They looked away, she wasn't there when they looked back.
Maybe there's an even stranger possibility hovering over all of this, one that moves beyond terrestrial politics and into the highly speculative realm of exopolitics. Relations between Earth and other intelligences that average citizens might not even know exists. During the Bush administration, key players in the federal government were urged to read the Chinese science fiction novel, The Three-Body Problem, written by a power plant engineer, Xijin Liu. It's about tri-Solarian extraterrestrials forced out of their own unstable solar system and headed for Earth. The tri-Solarians systematically monitor, mess with, and sometimes even kill human scientists at the frontier of human ingenuity.
Why do they kill these human scientists? Because they're coming to Earth. The story is that these aliens realize we exist, and they're coming to Earth to take our planet, to remove us from the planet. But they could do it, right? Why would they need to kill our scientists for that? So that's where it just gets deeper, more thicker. There are two key concepts that are connected to one another. One is called the Fermi paradox, which many people already know about. And then there is the dark forest hypothesis, which is, just like the name suggests, pretty dark. So we'll start with first the Fermi paradox for as a refresher for people who know and some for who don't know. So let's check this out.
If the universe is really 13.8 billion years old, shouldn't there be aliens everywhere? And if not, why not? I think it was Carl Sagan who said that there's either a lot of aliens or no aliens. Either one is equally terrifying. Meaning if there are no aliens, then what we have here is very rare. This is like a great physicist, Enrico Fermi, who posed the question of where are the aliens? Now, a lot of people ask me, like, what about the aliens? Have you seen any evidence of aliens? I've seen no evidence of aliens. If they were able to get here and we couldn't get there, then probably they've got much better technology than we
Oh, we're
do.
done.
Yeah, we're toast. If the universe is
So this is the Fermi paradox. Where are the aliens? Now the answer to that is the dark forest theory.
I dropped you in the middle of a very dark forest with only one rule: to survive as long as possible. To accomplish this, you're going to do whatever it takes, including eliminating any threat you come across before it eliminates you. You know that there might be others like you in this forest, but you have to assume that they're going to do whatever it takes to survive, just the same as you. So if you come across each other, either accidentally or on purpose, you might find yourself in a situation where neither of you can truly know what the other's intentions are. You don't know if they mean harm to you or not, but what you do know is that if you shoot first, they won't have the opportunity to, which makes it the safest course of action. This is a solution to the Fermi paradox known as the dark forest, a theoretical warning that we shouldn't be looking for aliens at all, because if we came across them, neither species would know if the other came in peace.
This part where he says that neither species would know if the other came in peace, that is the chain of suspicion. And it's not breakable, because on Earth, if you suspected another country or another race of something, you're humans, right? We all are humans. So there is a way to resolve that suspicion. there is a basis with which we see the world together as humans. So there's a commonality that helps eliminate the chain of suspicion. But when it comes to extraterrestrial civilizations that are trying to communicate with us, or we trying to communicate with them, there is no way to resolve this, because their frame of reference, what they eat, what they think, what they live like, what their ideals are, everything is different from ours. So this is the chain of suspicion, when neither species would know if the other came in peace, and the only way to survive would be to strike first. A simpler explanation of the dark forest hypothesis is this.
Dark forest theory says that if you attain a certain level of technology, the best thing you can do is just be quiet, because the universe is a dark forest, and the first person to stick his head out dies, because you don't want a competitor in your region. So as soon as a culture gets close to some technology that they're on a path to threaten you, you got to take them out. You got to halt their technology. The three-body problem is kind of based on that.
How do you halt someone's technology if you're not really there? If you're really far away, like it's going to take you 200, 300 years, which is just a blip in the history of the universe. How are you going to stop that other planet's technology by killing their scientists? I think you see where this is going, right? And it just goes deeper and deeper. This is the surface level. I can't possibly be spoiling anything for you at this point because it's so surface level. This is the next thing that I want you to see, guys.
Points at the end of the chain. Regardless of whether civilizations are internally benevolent or malicious, when they enter the web formed by chains of suspicion, they're all identical. Now you might think that a benevolent civilization that knows of the existence of a much weaker civilization could attempt to communicate with the weaker civilization, which wouldn't be a threat to the technologically superior world. This, of course, would not work because of a concept I mentioned earlier, the exponential nature of technological progress. Humans have existed for approximately 100,000 years, but the vast majority of our technological progression has happened within the last 300 years. On the scale of the universe, whose timeline moves on a much slower trajectory, this is not merely a progression. This is an explosion. On Earth, it took 300 years, but there's no reason why humanity should be the fastest of all cosmic civilizations. Maybe there are others whose technological explosions were even more sudden. I'm weaker than you, but once I've received your message and know of your existence, the chain of suspicion is established between us. If at any time I experience a technological explosion that suddenly puts me far ahead of you, then I'm stronger than you. On the scale of the universe, several hundred years is a snap of a finger, and it might be that my knowledge of your existence and the information I received from our communication was the perfect spark to set off that explosion. That means that even though I'm just a newborn or growing civilization, I'm still a big danger to you.
Right? You get that?
If you are the stronger civilization, the weaker civilization is a threat because of the potential for technological explosion. They could find and destroy your civilization within a blip on the cosmic scale. This was the very reason the Trisolarans attempted to stall human technological progress. The Trisolarans and the humans are unique in this particular case, however. Rather than attempting to annihilate the world, as would be the goal of most Dark Forest attacks, the Trisolarans seek to live on the world themselves.
Right? So they want to come here. They're 4 light years away. They'll take about 400 years with their technology to get here. But they realize that by the time they get here, we might be more advanced than them. So they send in their tools and their so I think you get this now. Beyond this, I would be spoiling it. So the Netflix series is broadly based on this. Broadly, I say, because I think the team has taken many creative liberties to get the message out there. Maybe it's all tying in because this one book, this is a trilogy of books by Lucian Zhu. And then there is a lot of other spin-off novels that have been written by independent authors, which are also very compelling as theories for each of those scenarios. So let's see the clip from the Netflix show. So this is the simulation that the aliens create so that they are able to like talk to us without scaring us.
Years. For most of that time, you weren't so different from apes. How long did it take you to discover agriculture?
So here she just goes into, trying to explain that it took 90,000 years to get into agriculture. It took lesser time and lesser time to get into higher levels of technology for humans. But it took them a lot more time because they're from a planet that kind of orbits 3 suns and very unpredictable trajectory. I mean, we never really had to start over, and they did. So they explain, and she explains, yes, this is the part
to
that
disarm us, to keep us from moving forward. Have you?
Yes. We are going to kill your science. We will do it with our sophons.
and they'll stop our science. And this, I'm going to sign off with the creepiest scene from that series that I saw, and I've always gotten goosebumps seeing it, is the part where she actually makes contact for the first time. So they send out a massive radio burst signal, magnifying it through the sun out into space. And they give out some clear signs of intelligent communication and development. And then they get an answer back from the alien race saying, don't answer. Why? Why don't answer? Your world will be conquered. This is my time, guys, and pleasure spending time with you. So see you later in the week with more fun stuff. Bye bye.